She said, considering what you named your children, what names did you reject? My children's names. My daughter is 6 years old. Her name is Moxie Crime Fighter Gillette. And my son is 5 years old, and his name is Zoltan Penn Gillette. The middle name being my first name, I don't think is too wacky. His first name being Zoltan, that's my wife's maiden name. And her father had 5 daughters. They all changed their name when they were married. So the only Zoltan he has in his grandchildren is my son's first name, which I hope gets more scratch out of my father-in-law. So that's all perfectly motivated. The name Moxie for my daughter, Moxie is a great, great brand name. Moxie is a soda, or as it's called in New England, a tonic, developed in Maine in the late 19th century. And Coca-Cola took their whole template from Moxie. And Moxie is a drink that if you were not served it by your parents as a child, you cannot drink it because it's horrendous cough syrup. But if you're served it by your parents, it brings all these memories of home. So I happen to love Moxie. And Moxie's an interesting word because Moxie, as far as I know, starts as a brand name and then goes into a generic name with a different meaning because of the advertising of Moxie. And it means gumption, it means guts, it means balls, which I think is a great name for a girl, Moxie. The middle name, Crime Fighter, is something I take a lot of heat for. If anybody saw me on CNN Piers Morgan thing, he jumps on with how this is child abuse, that my daughter's middle name is Crime Fighter. And the reason for that is not me. The reason for that is my wife. My wife does not have a middle name. For instance, Harry S. Truman, if you're writing it correctly, you can check this out on Google. If writing it correctly, the S does not have a period after it because it was S was his middle name. S. No. I'll get it. It's okay. And my wife didn't have a middle name. So my wife was carrying on backstage saying, middle names are fucking bullshit. We don't need a middle name. I don't have a middle name. We're not going to have a middle name. I said, well, Moxie Gillette is really nice. She goes, fuck it. I don't want a middle name. I go, you just put anything in there. And our piano player, Mike Jones, was backstage with us. And Mike Jones just finished reading my novel that I wrote before this called Sock. And in it, one of the characters says, just call me Crime Fighter. And Jonesy said, so why don't you give her middle name, Crime Fighter? And I went, my wife said, you want a middle name? You got it. It's Moxie Crime Fighter Gillette. And now I've got to defend it against dipshits on CNN. But it does have one upside, which is when she gets her driver's license and when she is pulled over, although I know y'all guys, you're working on cars that drive themselves, and it's going to be in Nevada first, and I'm pushing hard for it to be in Nevada first. And when you do have cars that drive themselves and they really work, and you want someone to try them out in Nevada, let's all in this room make a solemn promise we will not make the same mistake we did with Google fucking Plus. And we will all call our dear friend in Nevada, Penn Gillette, and say, do you want your car to drive itself? Because we have one for you, and you have a lot of money, and you don't mind dying, so why don't you buy one right now and get it right now? And I'll go, hidey, hidey, ho, and then I will love you all again, and the Google Plus gaffe will all be forgotten. But if she is driving her car, when she's pulled over, and notice I say when, not if, when she's pulled over, and the police officer is going to give her a ticket, she'll be able to pull out her license, or I guess her Android, pull out her device, show her driver's license, and say, officer, we're on the same side. My middle name is Crime Fighter. And maybe she'll get a pass. Now, that's a story I tell as a joke, but my wife, who's a little bit of a weasel, she was pulled over speeding with the children in the car in Vegas when Moxie was 2 years old. And She was pulled over, and the officer was writing out the ticket, and my wife said, my husband is Penn Jillette. His daughter. You know about his daughter? And the police officer said, yeah, she has kind of a funny name. He said, yes, she does. Her name is Moxie Crime Fighter, and she's on your side, officer. And he went, okay, just go on. So the name Crime Fighter's a middle name has already saved us $120. Now, the real question you asked was what names do we reject? We rejected a name for my son, also suggested by Jonesy, Mike Jones, our wonderful jazz pianist. He also suggested this name for a boy, and I wanted to use my father-in-law's surname for his first name, so I rejected this. But man, is it a good name. If any of you are naming boys right now, please consider this. He wanted me to name him Curly Howard Gillette. First name Curly, second name Howard, last name Gillette. And for those of you who are too ignorant, Curly Howard is one of the Three Stooges, and Curly Howard is perhaps the greatest philosopher. His real name, Jerome Horowitz, who worked under the name Curly Howard, is perhaps one of the biggest heroes in American history. And I love Curly Howard, last name here, Curly Howard, because if he turns out to be a tight-ass motherfucker, kind of a dick, he can just go by C. Howard Gillette, and that's fine. He can just say, call me Howard, call me Howie, it's fine. But if he turns out to be motherfucker, rock and roller, who knows how to go, then he can be called Curly. So I offer that up to you. We are having no more children. They sliced my dick. It doesn't work anymore. I'm not going to have any more children. So somebody let me know if you're having a child, name him Curly Howard blank. Also, great name for a girl. Curly Howard does not have to be a boy's name. Curly's a pretty boss name for a girl.